We're good.
It's like great.
Well, hello. Why don't we go ahead and introduce ourselves? Scott, why don't you start?
Aloha, everyone. I'm Scott Snyder with Badass Coffee of Hawaii.
I'm Ryan Ferris. I work with about 6 brands, so Alpha Graphics, Postnet, World Options, Pack and Send, Mailbox, etc., and Multi-Copy.
I'm Kristen Pahachik with Massage Lux.
And I'm Barb Moran Goodrich. I'm with Moran Family of Brands. I will be acting as moderator. I'm going to be asking some questions. I'd like to have this be an open discussion with our panelists, not have it specific and directed to anyone. And monetizing customer experience across disciplines, you think about that and you say, well, how do you go about that? What are some of the strategies for monetizing a customer experience across a discipline?
I can start. It's funny. When I started at Massage Lux, which was 4 years ago, everyone told me, like, this brand's different. We do it different. And I'm like, no, the marketer in me needs to know, like, what actually differentiates you so that I can put it on a flyer. And so I started to, like, peel back the layers. And I was once at a conference where somebody said, I wish I remember what he said, though. He said, the sum of all experiences with your brand is what makes up the brand. It's not the logo. It's not the promise. It's not what you're selling. It is the sum of all experiences. And so when we were talking about this panel, it brought me back to that moment in that to monetize throughout all of the different areas of your business through customer experience, you really need to think about all of the experiences that you have with your brand and how you can make sure that you're touching those clients or those customers at each point.
All the way from the interaction they may have on the website or a phone call to the delivery of the service in whatever fashion that may be.
Yeah, or before they even know about you, right? You can control that through the customer experiences that you have with people who do, because most of the time you're going to hear about it from someone else, right?
Right. Right. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I love this topic. Okay, so and that's what we're here for, right? Is all about customer experience, and so you can almost frame it up like a brand experience, because that's really what it is. And there's 2 really key elements, right? You want to have your brand attract the right owners, which means it's got to convey your mission, values, and your basically attributes of your brand so that you get the right people so that they can deliver your customer experience the way you want. Because that's really what's going to embody and propel your brand forward if that first component works super well. So there's a customer experience even within your franchise development that is super fundamental to the long-term success and that flywheel of your business, right? Where they are successful and attract the right customers and then service them. And then the obviously other key piece is the actual customer experience, the person that is paying at the register or ringing up the sale. How do we get them to be not only coming in and making that transaction, but to come back on a regular basis and hopefully espouse that to other people to say, you need to go try out this brand, the service, this product. And that to me is really the essence behind monetizing your customer experience. So really having a clearly defined, mission, vision, and values that is instrumental in every step of that friend dev process and that customer experience process, which is tools, processes, and people, and then have a way to validate that, right? So what are your checkpoints to actually say, is my customer experience good? And I think we'll talk about that a little bit later soon.
Yes. And Scott, how about for you?
Yeah, not a lot to add to that. I would agree with both Kristen and Ryan that it is the sum of all parts. And really to emphasize what Ryan just said, I think, having a very intentional strategy on how you define what that brand is and what that experience is and train to that, right? And whether you're a franchise brand or you're a corporate brand, really the secret sauce is how that's delivered and executed upon at the local level, at the store level, right? And so in our world, which is a franchise system, we're really reliant on that embodiment of that customer experience with the managers or with the owners, if it's an owner-operator, but being very intentional about how you define that. And then what tools and support do you provide to be able to model that, right? Model the behaviors we seek to see. So as we model those with our franchise owners, the payoff is when the franchise owners then model that with their team who models that to their customers.
Scott, I think you're a really great example of that. I think it starts at the top. And when you talk to him, you says aloha, right? I mean, you like live out the vibe that you want your customers to have with the business. And there are a couple people here, like the Mooyah guy who's walking around. I mean, it's like he embodies his entire brand. And I think that that's really cool. And it's a good reminder that, you know, we may want our clients or our customers to feel a certain way about us, but if we're not the ones that are, you know, setting that forth, it may not happen.
Well, I think that just in this discussion, really, we talk about that you have to have a foundation that you develop first. It's your vision of what you're wanting the customer's journey to be, and since we are franchisors, we can't always operate as if we are a corporately owned business where we can send the marching orders out to the stores and know that they are actually delivering on that. And, you know, you talk about with culture, you want them to be on the same page with culture and the values that you have and believe in the product, but we're not always really able to get that 100%. So I think that's one of the things I look at is, okay, we have good intentions. How do we make sure that we put disciplines in so that what we're developing at the foundation level is carried out throughout the system?
I think this is something we've really been working on, and AI has been a great enabler, as we've been talking about that a lot in the various sessions. In a traditional franchise sense, what we've done with the different brands was a lot of the auditing and spot checking. I'm sure you guys all have these, whether it's your system standards or your brand standards. You send your field team out, they take pictures, they might test the customer experience, place an order, whatever your business model is. It's a little bit of a spot checking system though, right? And it doesn't really stick that well with those owners, nor with the entire network as well as we'd like. Right? If anybody's used Service Score, we've used that one to audit our phone calls, right? How do our customers answer, or how are they treated over the phone? Do they have the right greeting? Do we use the right closing words? Do we, espouse the value proposition as we expected? And we see these results, but it's pretty sporadic. Moving now into some of these AI-enabled tools, we can establish more real time. And what we found really successful was benchmarking and giving them their scores against each other. So now we can use AI to actually audit those calls real time, show them how they're scoring based on key, let's say, signals, and then post that, right? That they're a C company and this company's an A, and here's what you can do to become a B or an A. And that has jumped us in the first 30 days of launching, and we used Invoca to do that one. That was a 30% improvement in call quality within 30 days. So just that visibility, that live dashboard for an owner to see, oh my goodness, I thought I was rock solid. I thought that coach's review of the call was a one-time event, but it's actually maybe an issue that I didn't really understand fully. Now I have a tool that's measuring it. Now I know what to do and how to coach to it. And then we see that, let's say mission, vision, and values actually coming back into the brand and improving the quality of that customer experience. And so I think that's one just little piece of the puzzle of adding tools and technology to validate that you're actually delivering what you train and teach.
That and establish, consistency is so hard in franchising, right? It's like our number one thing. It's going to be interesting how AI and emerging technology is going to make it so that things are more, in a box for our franchisees, and we don't have to necessarily rely on them to do the things that maybe they're not doing in every location. So if we can do it for them, we should.
Well, and when you look at it from the perspective of, okay, you've just launched out this structure that is AI driven, and up until that point, you had people listening on the phone, taking all that time to try to measure the franchisees' communication levels, and now you've moved it to where it's basically it's outside of your hands in what you're saying to the franchisees. Sometimes they'll take offense to if you're telling them, there's some problems answering the phone. I know we've had that issue where they will defend the manager's level of commitment in the communication on the phone, and many times they don't even want to listen to their calls. So when you send that out and it's really coming from, an AI structure, I think it probably takes down the barrier a little bit of that uncomfortableness and maybe not wanting to buy into it. The one thing I will say is, I look at, culture and all of these things that we talk about that we say we really have to have in our business, and we have to have it all the way from the level of your support center through to your franchisees delivering to the customers. And from our perspective, it's very difficult to get everybody going in the same direction and buying in and believing. And so we started a process. It's been 20 years of actually profiling our franchisees. And we ended up where we've been with the same company for 10 years. They developed we measured all of our franchisees at their level of how their business operates. And we had personality profiling done, situational profiling done, and we had all that put together and had an algorithm that was developed so that we are able to have more of the right people coming to us as desiring to be a franchisee. And we put the process in place to help kind of weed out those things that could possibly come up where they won't deliver what you're wanting. So when you talk about, the foundation, building that foundation also means putting up that structure on the inbound, what's coming in to be a partner to you in the deliverables. So how about for you, Scott? Have you have anything in process that, allows you to have confidence at the store level?
Yeah, I think from an AI standpoint, we're just starting to dip our toe in the water there a little bit. We're a 35-year-old startup, right? Mm-hmm. So going back 5 years ago with the absence of an infrastructure, we're trying to create those profiles of who our customers are and what's going to bring them in and validate that customer experience by really correlating data between our loyalty program, right, and getting people into that and watching buying habits and everything there, as well as we also have, because we have so few locations, and this is really this is a merchandise brand as well, and mm-hmm. So the intentional franchise growth path has been through building our social reputation and building our online sales through our online store. And so we correlate the data between who's buying what in the stores and being able to leverage that data in terms of our marketing strategies in store and outside of store. We approach our customer experience from an in-store loyalty and outside of store marketing approach. And so really leveraging that data to see what we can glean, see where the buying patterns are different, see where the satisfaction with the brand is not just in what they're wearing or what they're drinking, but in the experience of the stores. I think in our space, there's been a lot of movement, especially post-COVID or during COVID, to not having that human touch anymore. And a big part of the experience is that human touch. We don't shy away from building cafes. We want people to come and gather. That's part of the coffee experience. So really measuring customer experience for us really is the sum of all parts. It's how that store feels. It's what that interaction is. You're only as good as your last interaction. It's the music, it's the colors, it's the merchandise, it's the menu, it's the aloha that you get when you walk in, and it's the mahalo when you leave. So measuring that is both very simple, and it's also very challenging from a technology standpoint. Simple in that we can track sales. Simple in that we can measure the repeat business, the referrals generated by our most loyal mm-hmm. customers, and so technology from that standpoint. But really correlating that with data that we receive from folks that aren't coming into the stores yet, who then ultimately converting a love for the brand to buying product to when are you going to build one of these near me. That's also part of the data that we use.
I know that. So for some, for us as well, we monitor social media. We monitor reviews, sentiment analysis, and it helps to see if, we're having the results that we're attempting to have with our franchisees delivering on it. But the one thing I wonder about is you've got different sections of your business structure. You've got your operations, and you've got your marketing, and then you have your IT. And how do you get them all communicating together and utilizing the tools that are available to help in the disciplines in making sure the customer is getting the experience that you have set out as the vision?
I love this question, okay? Because here's a fallacy we had, okay? So a lot of our lessons, I'm going to say we learned the hard way, okay? And it was that we believe customer experience was the traditional marketing funnel. Marketing owns the customer experience. It's their job. They need to do it, fix it, manage it, measure it, right? Everybody's seen the funnel. Everybody's got their top of the funnel measurements and their bottom, right? And we realized that is only one quadrant, one quarter of what it really takes to provide a true end-to-end customer experience. So we moved our thinking into what we call the Wheel of Excellence, and it's in 4 quadrants. Marketing is a quadrant, and we need a few dashboards, right? A few, let's say, meters on our car dashboard, the flashing oil light that tell us if we're doing well or bad, right? Inquiries, conversions, cost per lead. But then we got another quadrant, which is sales. So the marketing's the interface-to-interface experience, and then the sales is the face-to-face. Are we addressing them right at the counter? Are we dealing well with them over the phone? How is that moving, and how do we measure and monitor it? But then there's the whole other half of this equation that sometimes gets neglected, but it's equally important. Are they providing quality products, right? Are they giving the customer a good, product or service? And you can see that in net promoter scores. You can see that in waste, product use, gross margins. These are key indicators that give us a sense if it's a healthy company, which could be leading to issues up the funnel. No sense spending marketing money if they're not producing good product. Fix the product first, then go back to spending money on marketing. And then the last one, equally important, is financial. Are they converting, those sales into cash? Are they billing the customers in a timely fashion? Are they following up, converting, managing their money, paying their people well? All of those are indicators of a healthy business. So we look at a franchise in a kind of 360 view and say, are they an excellent franchise? Almost like you have a FICO score for your financial health, we have a score for our franchisees. Are they a healthy franchisee? And what quadrant do we need to focus on first as we move them into a healthier and healthier franchise? And so that's a way to kind of help them gauge themselves, benchmark their success against others, and then have our training and support focused on the right area at the right time.
I'm pretty passionate about the silos that so often exist in franchising in regard to specifically marketing departments and franchise development departments. And you see that a lot with operations too, or even on the financial side of the business. We all operate in the silos. And one of the things that we've done is we have, work on the business days where you take the leaders of each department and you're talking about all areas of the business. And it doesn't matter if the person sitting at the table isn't a marketer. They have an opinion on how something looks or sounds or should be. And I think that needs to happen more in order to make sure that the departments are talking to each other. And part of that is a look back, look forward presentation that each leader of the department will go through quick. Here's a couple of things we've worked on in the last quarter. Here are the things we're working on in the next quarter. And that way everyone knows exactly what everyone else is doing and can put input in if they need to.
I love that. And one of the things, one of the advantages to walking into a company with no infrastructure is you've got a white canvas. So you can design whatever you want. And I think the traditional view is, you have field operations people who go in and they work with your franchisee and they're looking at the numbers and they're looking at waste and looking at all the things that Ryan just described. But I don't think we do that on the marketing side. And so one of the things that we're actually in the midst of implementing right now is we actually have field marketing teams that are following field operations teams. And so there's this consistency that the franchise sees in terms of support. And there's a great alignment because there are things that are going to be discovered and discussed with when the marketing team is in there looking at how is that brand, how is that customer experience represented in store, in the behaviors that they see, in the way that we treat loyalty. Because we said, and as we said on our call here a couple of weeks ago, you've got to have your house in order before you start spending the money outside. Because if you're spending the money outside and you don't have that experience that you want inside, and it is a training issue, it is an operations focus, it is a marketing focus and a planning focus. And so having those field teams that are in and touching both sides of that business, but ensuring that experience is solid, and it's what gives you the ROI, the MROI on sending that marketing message outside. The worst thing you can do is be spending money on marketing to bring someone in just to validate that that's not really a place I want to go.
Right.
And they're going to tell everyone else too. So
That's it's interesting when you have someone say that a franchisee will say, "Oh, I'm not getting any leads," and we see, "Oh no, you're getting leads. It's just that they're not staying a lead for you." So we have to fix that part.
yeah.
It's interesting because I look at our journey in our company. We started tracking customer interaction and customers contacting us for over 25 years. And we realized 20 years ago that we needed to put a acknowledgement in place for the number of franchisees that have treated their customers exactly how we're wanting them to be treated. And it was a journey for us trying to get all sections from what we felt and believed within our support center and our vision to delivering it out to our franchisees. And, it's not something that happens overnight. You can't just go and say, well, I'm going to just start tracking this and monitoring this, and they'll listen to me. Because not only is it about acknowledging great customer service and tracking that for franchisees, it's also about the aspect of, moving a disengaged franchisee into engagement and keeping an engaged franchisee continually engaged by including them in the things that you're going to be doing with them and the vision that you have. I look at this and say, we over the years, we discovered we were having a lack of communication between departments. We were expecting one department to understand or know who we were and what we were trying to do in the other department or what issues we had. And so again, going back like we did with the franchisees and acknowledging them on customer service, we started saying we need to have full engagement with all departments. So we have every week, we have a huddle where all departments get together and we quickly go through anything that they are working on that they need some assistance in, or, hey, if you're talking to so-and-so, make sure that you let them know, blah, blah, blah. But also taking each department and having them be a part of a leadership team where we get together weekly and go over all of our issues. We operate under traction, and it's really helped to refine the what we need to be measuring and how we go and move that between departments. Because, everyone has their own thing that they're concerned about and worried about, and they don't want to, delve into operations, or they don't want to delve into marketing, but all of them need to cohesively be working together in order to have that end result that you're wanting.
And if I may add too, Scott, you said, it's important to keep your house in order or get it in order. When we want our franchisees to treat our clients or our customers a certain way, I would challenge that you ask yourself as a franchisor, how are you treating your customers, your franchisees? And are you going the extra mile in your customer service with the franchisees? I think that makes a big difference. You can't force culture, but you can certainly do things to influence it. So think about birthday cards. Like when it's my franchisee's birthday, they are getting a card from me. I am calling a certain number of franchisees a week because it's important to me that they know that I'm watching them. If they're passing a certain membership number, they're getting an email. And I would argue that anything that I have on my plate for the next board meeting or anything like that, it does not outweigh your franchisees feeling like you care for them. Because if you feel that way, then when conflict comes or when they are having a harder time, it's easier to navigate because you've built up that relationship. So I know this is about client or customer experience. Franchisees is doing that with their with their clients, but I think it's really important that we're also as franchisors treating them the way that we want them to treat their people.
Right. Now, you know, what are some of the tools that you guys have used and metrics that you use to verify the results you're trying to obtain? And by what departments do you use those in?
We start this one. Okay. Okay. We have quite a bit.
Tools,
but we try to keep it simple. I'll talk about the franchise development side. So tools, we try to keep franchise development simple. Okay. So we're Frank Connect, and we really do like having a structured system. So we have a 9-step process for our brands. It's very clear. We finish on a discovery day and a signing. And then we've got a more virtualized way for them to engage with the brand, right? So it's still video delivery, a lot of self-serve, let's say ChatGPT capable options to listen, learn, because a lot of our potential owner candidates are doing this after hours when we're not in the office, and we don't want to lose that attention span. So to us, that's a big customer experience opportunity where we can still let them interact with our brand. We can still have the gates that they complete certain steps, but they can do a lot of it in a self-serve model. That's really expedited our, let's say, time to close, as well as kept people moving while they're interested, right? People can cool off of that ambition pretty quick.
Is that one that allows you to also monitor and see if they're actually doing the work?
Yep. So when I say gated, we can actually measure that they completed that component, and then we do a little validation,
right?
A few little checkpoints, a little question here, and if they validate, then it unlocks the next gate.
Right.
Some of those will still require setting an appointment to talk to our, let's say our development team, and then other ones they can keep pursuing. So there's about 2 development teams. Their business planning and, let's say, the disclosure document overview is going to be an in-person conversation. But the other pieces are highly capable for them to self-serve, which means they can move through in less than a few days at their own time. Then we can start scheduling Discovery Day, which we hold almost every month now, to keep the process moving quick. So
we have a very similar structure. Ours is 6-step process, but we also use it to flush out those that we do not want to move forward with. And especially when they're saying they're doing something and they haven't even done it at all.
Yeah. So I think, franchise development is a super key area. We were talking about this in one of the earlier AI sessions where a lot of your franchise development content is already publicly available. Whether you put it on your website or you're sharing with people before they sign an NDA, that's technically publicly available. Take that knowledge base, throw it into a, let's say even a knowledge base article in your ChatGPT, create your own GPT with a little avatar and let your potential candidates ask questions. What is an FDD? Why is your brand different? Who are your top competitors? Those are all scripted answers you have that your avatar can feed out real time while they're trying to learn about your business and your brand. So I think that's one key area. And then obviously there's the franchisee experience.
I know you mentioned KPIs before, and everybody has different ways they refer to them as SMART numbers, and the KPIs, key performance indicators. What you said in our conversation, you need to keep it simple and don't complicate it. So what are some examples of how you do that? Where are you measuring?
Yeah, so we have taken our franchisees CRM where they log in to see, what leads are coming in, how they're progressing, their estimates, all that good information. We've now added, let's say, business intelligence functionality on top of it to tell them how they're doing. Are they processing those leads within 3 hours, like we said? So they get a simple, let's say, red, yellow, green. Okay, green, you're doing great in that category. Yellow, you should put some attention to it. Red, you're really in trouble. Please fix it quickly. And then we keep it in that wheel of excellence. And we just focus on 3 things in each quadrant. There really is essentially 3 key things. They can dive deeper, but I can tell if you're healthy or not by about 3 KPIs in marketing,
right?
3 in sales, 3 in operations, and 3 in finance. And if that goes, let's say, yellow, I have a link to a training course in our learning management platform that they can get educated. I can then have them schedule an appointment with their field consultant to get professional coaching, right? I can then add them to a performance group with other similar people going through similar challenges to really ingrain that and make it part of their, let's say, make it a habit instead of a one-time fix, right? So those are, I think, when you think about it, right, I don't want them to be the mechanic right? But I want them to have their car dashboard that says you're running low on gas, you need to put oil in the car, you need more washer fluid, right? That's all I'm going for. And I think that's really key. Make it easy on them so that they're not scared, then give them the tools to fix it when it's going a little bit sideways.
So we have something very similar, but in addition to that, we've used Tableau in our point of sale software to allow them to change KPIs. We have 5 of them, and see what it would do for their business. So instead of closing at 25% next month, what happens if you close at 37%?
Yep.
What does that do for your annual revenue, your membership base? And so sometimes, and I think we've all can agree, when we're talking to franchisees and we're pointing out areas that they need to improve on or that they could improve on, it goes in one ear and out the other ear. But if you can see what that's going to do from a money standpoint and illustrate that for your franchisees, we found it to be very effective.
Yeah. And add a leaderboard.
Yeah.
This was probably the most simple game changer for us. When we showed them what the top 25% results are, what their scores are, what the average is, and then a ranking of everybody from sales to net promoter score to these key KPIs, right? Then the link to how to fix it, that moved the whole network. So that's leaderboards are amazing. It
Those
really,
ribbons. at
everybody's
conferences.
competitive, right?
Yep.
People that are entrepreneurs are naturally competitive. So give them a way to compete and be one of the best in the brand.
We've done that as well. We've done that as well with the leaderboard on our portal for all the franchisees. And I think in our case, that combined with in-store assessments in terms of how they're performing across all the different categories, whether the store is clean, how that environment is. And the 2 most important categories in ours is our ability to lead with aloha, right? Which really measures the culture, really measures that customer experience, followed by coffee and their coffee knowledge, right? Those are the 2 most important parts of our business. And if you fail one of those, or if you're down on the lower end of that affects the entire score to a level that you have to come back. And so bringing them back into the portal and referencing back, you can't manage to a standard if you don't have the education pieces that go along with it. And so for Badass Coffee, again, we're still building this infrastructure from scratch. We didn't even put that assessment out until we felt like we had enough of the right kind of content to direct people back to so that you can train and so you can teach to what the standard looks like. If you don't know what you don't know, you've got to be able to define that. And that's where the modeling the behaviors that you seek to see, that all starts with training. It starts with examples of high-performing stores. And so the franchisees will say, well, what are they doing, right? What are they doing that I'm not doing? And that's a great conversation starter for your field operations person to have with your franchisee. I'll tell you one other story. We actually had a franchisee who was not an owner-operator but had multiple locations, put the full control and the full management of that brand experience, that customer experience, in the hands of the managers. 3 of the managers did great. They led with aloha, everything that they could possibly do. They wore the brand in the very best possible way. The 4th one said, I don't know about this whole aloha thing. I just don't really believe in that. I'm not, it feels awkward, doesn't feel natural to me. Can someone come in and do a PowerPoint presentation for us on what that should look like? And the answer was no. You've got all the things that are available to you, but in talking with this individual, I finally said, you know what? I'm going to fly you to this location over here. They've only been at it for a year. You've been at it for a couple of years. Their numbers are up here. They're in the top 5 of that performance board. They are the very best representation of what this brand is. And I want you to come, and I want you to go by yourself. And I'm going to let them know that you're going to come, but I don't want you to engage. I just want you to sit and watch for a morning. Just watch for a morning. Mind-blowing, right? Came back and said, I get it. It's going to be hard for me, but I get it. And so sometimes you have to show. Sometimes if you don't know what you don't know, you're going to need to direct them. And sometimes that motivation starts with the leaderboard, but make sure that they've got the tools to be able to do something with it.
So you're talking about a leaderboard. All 3 of you mentioned that. Is there any specific platform you use that through? Is it through the POS system? Is it separately where it's uploaded from a POS system and put into an enterprise version?
For us, it's a combination of POS and our back office system, which is Synergy Suite. We also combine in data that we pull from Sochi.
Yep.
Social.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at third-party tools, something like Looker that can manage your Google data and other reports on the marketing side, can create some really nice panels, and you can add other points to it. Power BI, honestly, now with AI that can write your Power BI scripting and tools, I mean, almost everybody can create better data visualization tools and make it accessible to your network behind your firewall. So, you don't have to go crazy as we did years ago and invest a lot in an IT infrastructure now. You probably have the data. Just test out playing with these little visualization tools, and you'd be surprised. A simple, chart make a big difference.
I think about this, and I know that, for years, we've always been saying data is the next, gold rush. And we've spent a lot of time trying to harness being able to evaluate and analyze data. And now to have the opportunity with AI, there's a lot of things that come to mind. You go and think, oh, this is so great, I can't wait to use it. And then you go, whoa, wait a minute. Some of my stuff is proprietary, and I don't want to put it out there to the general public and have it be utilized by all that go into that AI program. And so there are a lot of tools. I think there's a lot of people that are still hesitant. What would you say is the one thing that they could do to try to alleviate those concerns that they have, and being able to, have these type of formats and structures that will save so much time? I mean, the amount of time that we've paid for people to listen to phone calls, analyze financials, analyze sales data, tracking, what their sentiment analysis is and lead generation. If you're able to actually have it just, go in and get analyzed and come out, of course, not garbage in, garbage out, but actual real good stuff coming in and out. What would that be? What would that look like? Is there any specific company that you would recommend talking with or anything? Any one of you guys?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. When I'm here, I feel like I want to go back and change everything that my team is doing because AI is so cool and it's like all these things I want to do. And the reality is we're not going to do that because we're busy and have other things going on. I think to answer your question in regard to where do I start somewhere, right? You don't have to have the full plan. You don't have to go back and change everything. Dedicate 20 minutes. We were in the CEO summit and someone said, you know what, just have your team take an hour and explore. Try it out. See what you like and what you don't like about the different tools. And if you're apprehensive about putting something into ChatGPT, don't and put something else in there. You don't have to change everything and evolve super quick after this. I think this is just, we're in it right now, so it feels really big, but when we get back, we'll start to seed it into the day-to-day slowly.
Yeah. We're kind of pushing a little bit. We're literally in the middle of training our entire organization on how to effectively and safely use AI. So we have a training series. We kind of took a few people that were interested, trained them, and now they're training the rest of the organization. And not in a rocket science way, guys. Like, this is just using OpenAI and Copilot, which is Microsoft's product, okay? And then taking our current tools, take FranConnect, for example. That's where all of our system data is, our royalty reporting, our products and services mix. I can now have my field consultant copy and paste the data for a center, 18-month data, and throw it into ChatGPT, which is a paid version, and it's locked out, sharing the data with the rest of the learning, LLM. And it tells them the trends of that franchisee and areas of concern and thoughts. It gives them a quick way, without waiting on the finance department, without waiting on someone else to build and give them a report, to walk in and have an intelligent conversation with that owner to say, I noticed you're not moving much of this product. Why is that? Is there something wrong in your market? Are we missing something in marketing? Does it not resonate? Is it a price point? Whereas before, you're relying on the owner to tell you that, right? And the owner is using their gut to tell you that. So data is now becoming powerful. We've had it, But the ability for a field consultant to process it, get it, use it, we know that they've been, let's say, weekly supported, especially if they're managing 30 to 60 franchise owners, right? Now they've got it real time, right? And we give it to them super simple where they can just process that information and be that much more effective. And same with our franchise development tools, right? We can see all the candidates that inquire about our business. We can see what steps they fall out of. We can now use ChatGPT to say, what are you seeing here? What are the trends? What are the locations that are interested? What is the demographic information of that buyer? Where do they bail in the process? Who is the sales coach? Maybe there's an opportunity. And I'm telling you, it is amazing how quick. It may not be perfect, but it gives you things to think about that I think that's a huge enabler, which can dramatically improve your effectiveness in managing and coaching your franchise network.
We don't, I love Kristen's recommendation of taking some time to explore. We run a pretty lean team, so I don't have a particular recommendation for AI or a particular tool. We've had some really interesting explorations with AI from a customer service standpoint with franchisees and helping them. We're exploring something along that line. We've also had a few misses where that has been used in some of our online marketing for some of our e-commerce. So for me, I would say, like you would with any other new product that you're going to launch, proceed with caution. Make sure you do your due diligence. For us, the motivation is to save time, right? To get more out of the team that we have, right? Make your existing resources more efficient. But do so make sure you understand what you're getting into. Make sure you do your testing in a test environment as much as you can before you go live. There are going to be mistakes. There is still a human element that is important for that final look. So we're in the exploration at this point. We built a lot of different technology. We have too much data across too many different platforms. That's a shocker. And so now trying to bring that back into something that, from a franchisee standpoint, what's most important to them, right? Don't bombard them with everything. What's going to be most important to them to improve their business? If they're doing better, we're doing better, right? But from Ryan's standpoint, what we as an organization are looking at, our responsibility to them is that we're looking out ahead. We're seeing data that might not seem appropriate or relevant to the franchisees, but we're trying to get ahead of the next wave. Where do we continue to stay ahead of the competition in our space? How do we continue to innovate by anticipating change that's coming? That's where I think some of these tools really pay for the franchisor.
Yep.
So what would you guys say would be some key takeaways from this discussion we're having here for others? What would that be? Would it be, starting with the foundation as a, key takeaway that you could utilize, making sure every department has some type of structure of being able to monitor and track the results that are achieved, and that the customer experience, be it originally the franchisee candidate is the customer that starts, all the way through to at the franchisee level with their customers. What would you say would be a key takeaway for this?
Good.
Yeah, for me, here's the thing. You can't force customer experience. It happens, like we talked about. It's the sum of everything you do. The big takeaway for me for this discussion, as well as just the discussions I've had over the last couple of days, is really zooming out and taking a look at what that client experience looks like, and what your franchisee experience looks like, and spending some time making sure that it's consistent in what you want it to be all the way through. And in the franchise space, that's really hard because we don't have control over what our locations do. But what I would say is, if you can provide guardrails and you can provide the sandbox for them to play in, you can control it to an extent. You just need to figure out what that sandbox is going to look like. And it's a good reminder for everybody to zoom out and to think about what it could look like for your brand and what needs to happen to get it there.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I would say there's some key aspects. We talked about a little bit earlier, starting with your mission, vision, and values.
Mm-hmm.
who do you want to be? What do you want to be known for? And are you able to deliver that and maintain it and manage it? Okay. And everything bolts around that. And even when we were talking earlier about some of these programs, a lot of you will have some great ideas you want to go back and implement with your franchise network or even with your HQ's team. And a lot of it will be the what. We're gonna do this, and here's how we're gonna do it. And what I would encourage you to bolt back on there super strong is the why, right? Why would an owner want to do this? Why is it good for them to put in this extra time, to retrain their team, to make sure they say aloha? Why does it matter? Because a lot of times we forget that connection, and literally it's like pushing a rope. You're getting nowhere, right? We want to create energy from our own network. We want them to embrace it and take it further than we will. And the why is the driver of that. And so that's a huge lesson we've learned. We get very sunk into programs and initiatives, and we're like, drive, execute. And literally it's hard. When we focus on the why before we even drive, they pull it across the finish line. And so I would say, regardless of what you're looking for, if you want to make your customer experience excellent, then get your network bought into it. Find that small committee of owners that will champion it and have them be the owners that tell that owner, you need to do this better because you're hurting us. And here's why you should do it better, because look what it'll do to your sales and your business. I think that is a huge takeaway for me, regardless of the technical tools and platforms, is make sure you're always leading with the why.
Ditto. No. I think your customer experience is your brand, right? Mission, vision, values, all that. That all plays into it. You're only as good as your last transaction, right? And whether that's at the counter in front of someone, or whether that's on the phone because I'm placing my print order, or I've just picked up my car from a service, it doesn't matter, right? The last interaction is the most important. The first interaction is the most important because there may not be another one after that. So I think the takeaway for me, and in talking with this really talented panel prior to today's session, was there's so many different tools that we can use out there to validate the consistency of that experience. The consistency shouldn't be an interpretation from one store to the next. It's got to have that consistency. And so that does lead at the top in terms of what you project and the behaviors you seek to see. But at the store level, or the operator level, whoever's having that interaction, that consistency is really important. So, man, what I've learned is I've got a lot of tools that I need to explore, and a lot of services that can really consolidate this for me in a way that makes my time more efficient. And I would encourage everybody to explore, spend some time and see what it can do to make your lives more efficient and your customer experience more consistent from store to store.
I'd reiterate, that's a really, you can't manage what you can't measure.
Right.
I love that phrase, but really think about what is your lead indicator versus just your lag. We love to focus on, what is our system-wide revenue this month, or system-wide sales? How many did we sign this month? Those are really lag indicators. There's a lot of things that have to happen before that to get those results. What are they for you? Can you measure them? And really, how can you measure them, right? So I think that's a really, neat opportunity. I always use the weight loss analogy. I want to know that I lost weight on the scale, but that's my lag. If I want to lose weight, I got to probably know how many calories I consumed and how many workouts I did, right? That's the lead, right? So what is your lead? What is your calorie and workout regimen for your network? And can you measure that they're doing it, right? So make sure you got a healthy network. So great opportunity.
Well, I think that we've got a lot of things that we have an opportunity to do when we look at what we've been learning over the last 2 days. And like you said, trying to put it all in play is not the best way of going about it. You really need to step back, take a look at what you have right now, where you have strengths, where you have areas of opportunity to shore up, maybe with a program that is able to provide the data and information that would make a difference and change things for you. But it first goes in at the, who you want to be. What is your vision? How are you going to make sure everybody's communicating together and on the same page? So I think these were pretty good ideas. Is there anything else that you would want to share with the audience? No?